Sports fans, sports lovers, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of GSCP, that is Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective. And today, we ain't just taking it from a Caribbean perspective. No, we're coming straight home. We're taking it from a Vincy perspective because we want to talk about the brand new and improved 2026 VSPL season. That is the Vincy Soccer Premier League. And remember, here at GSCP, we is the home of the best leagues, the best games, the best sports, and the best stakes. So how we could be that and not bring you some information from right here, right at home. And trust me, going from a point of sitting down in the stands watching these games to sitting on a podcast and now being able to talk about it, we are indeed turning passion into purpose. So let's talk about it. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the new upcoming season. Vincy Soccer Premier League, brand new and improved. Shabba, what are you saying?
Yeah, I like the direction the league is headed in. The branding name switch from the SVGFF Premier Division to Vincy Soccer Premier League is the right switch, I would say, in terms of branding to get us out there more. There's also talk of the semi-professional move, although that has not been made official as yet. But the branding is definitely the right start, and we've seen some clips on the social media page.
For sure, people getting excited for it.
Yeah, so right start. It's a good start.
All right, so for those of you tuning in, just getting acquainted or getting reacquainted, the VSPL is a brand new league format that will replace what was known as the SVGFF Premier Division. That is the top level of sport in terms of football here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we have our local teams who will compete, of course, week in, week out. And it's historically really been for, yes, a trophy, but more so the local bragging rights, the recognition that comes with it, and more importantly, the launch pad that it could be for a further career in football and sports. Obviously, we know a lot of the top performers in the Premier Division have gone on to represent us at the international level, getting international caps, representing St. Vincent and Grenadines in the region and even further afield, and some of them getting, semi-professional and even professional contracts to play in places in the region and places further afield as well. So very important to the local soccer fraternity, of course, and I'm using the word soccer because interestingly,
that's
the word that we've branded it. Traditionally for me it's football, but
that's what we know.
We'll call it VSPL. That's no problem. We can get over that. Tomato, right? So the format is 10 teams, is one league, is home, is away, and of course, it's 3 points for a victory, and every point matters. You get a point if you share the points with your other team, 1 point each, no points for a loss. So this competition, like we said, continues to be that, platform for Vincentian footballers. It is the highest level of football, albeit, we know for a long time we consider it amateur football. We're trying to move towards a semi-professional direction, but we still have a great deal of respect for our premier competition, and the rivalry is intense. For sure. So let me jump into last season and give the people some context. If you weren't following things, we know we've had a rough couple of years with football, some uncertainty regarding the scheduling, if we're going to have matches or not. And it's been a difficult thing to organize. But nonetheless, we still had a 2025 season, and that gave us a lot to discuss and talk about. Off the bat, last season's champions. And we know we have an interesting discussion to have with the coach of the North Leeward Predators. And if we haven't said it before, congratulations. I think this is the first time we're going to be saying it on the podcast. So big up to the North Leeward Predators on capturing the 2025 then Premier Division title. They finished the table 41 points. There was just about 4 points clear of second place, another team that would be, known on the local scene for sure, Hope International. They finished, on 37 points, and they pushed North Leeward all the way, but in the last run of games, you'd have to say, the results definitely let them down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Hope were one of the main favorites because they came into the season as a strong contender, and they were going very well, as exhibited by their finish in the table. But as you'd see by their last 5 games, they had lost 3 out of their last 5 games, whereas North Leeward went 5 for 5 in their last 5 games and overtook them to win the title. So I'm sure Hope will be coming into the season with a sense of revenge on their mind for sure. We also visited Hope's training ground and spoke to a few of their players and staff members as well, and they expressed similar sentiments in wanting to regain that title. So it'd be very interesting to see if they'd be able to overthrow Hollywood.
Another team that we have visited rounded out the top 3. Another team from the Leeward side of the island, that is Leyu FC. They were in the conversation, in the title race, you'd have to say. But again, performed probably a little bit earlier up, considering they won 3 and draw 1 out of their last 5 games. They had a good, strong end to the season, but earlier up, losing out on some key points. They finished with a total of 32 points, and definitely we know it that Leeward rivalry, certainly there's going to be a huge push from Leyu in the upcoming season.
For sure.
Rounding out the rest of the point standings were Camdonia, Chelsea and Jebel, who both finished on 25 points, followed by Pastures United, Awesome FC and Avenues United. All the way down at the other end of the table, of course, Cyan Hill and SV United were both relegated, and that made room for 2 teams who will now be coming up into this new and refreshed competition for 2026. So we got some exciting movements and some permutation stuff. I want to go through the competition team by team so we could get a bit more familiar with them in terms of how they performed last season and perhaps what people can expect if they're not familiar with the local premier competition and want to get familiar with the name, with the VSPL. Vincy Soccer Premier League. Get it in. VSPL, right? And we're working with it. So we want to start, of course, rightfully so, with the defending champions, the Predators, the men from the North Leeward side of the country. Deserved champions, we'd have to say.
Sure.
41 points last season, consistent team all throughout the year, finished off the league with 5 consecutive victories. That's domination, arguably the most complete team in the league, you'd have to say.
For sure, and we spoke to the coach of North Leeward who emphasized and overemphasized on how much his team are powerful. He mentioned that they are a running team. He mentioned that they never give up. So that is something that is a staple of the Predators, and it showed last season because, like we mentioned, Hope were in front of them, and at some point they would have thought that
they had it in the bag.
Correct, but North Leeward never gave up and they fought to the end, and I'm sure that it's gonna be much more of the same again this season.
But speaking of the same, we know that there will be a bit of pressure. There's new marketing surrounding it. It's a new format, more eyes on it. So perhaps a bit of pressure on the defending champions. We know they have, however, very strong community-based support. You'd say they'd have to lean on that support a bit, considering every team would be looking to raise their level against them.
For sure, and I'd also mention that we visited a few other teams at their training grounds, and a few of the players that we would have spoken to when we asked them what team they're looking for to play in the most is the North Leeward Predators. So they definitely are gonna have a target.
A lot of bones and a lot of
target on their back this season, and they're gonna have their hard work on their hands.
Well, I guess that would be the question. Can they defend that title, or will those targets on their backs prove to be, somebody coming to try and take that title away?
Yeah, and only time will tell.
Well, one team that will certainly be looking to take that title away is the team that led for much of last season and lost out in the end. We spoke about that comparison between the last 5 games of North Leeward Predators and the last 5 games of the team in second place. We're talking about none other than Hope International. If there's anybody looking out, for the title, it has to be Hope. Second place, 4 points off that, less than ideal last run of games. They could have won. A lot of players might feel like they should have won. And Hope is a team that we've heard about definitely in and around the top of Vincential football, certainly in the modern era. So they have a lot of pedigree, they have experience, there's goals in the team. What do you say really stopped them from going all the way last season, and what would make them go all the way?
Probably a bit of the consistency that North Leeward Predators showed, especially in the late half of the season that we've mentioned, because that is where the title was lost. Because Hope have a lot of experienced players mixed with some youth, but Hope has a lot of experienced players that have been there and done that. The majority of the squad that won the league a few years ago is also there as well. So to see them fumble in the late half like that was, uncharacteristic of a Hope international team. So I'm sure, very, very sure, with led by the likes of Paul Farrell and Akin John and the likes from Hope International, I'm sure they would want to take back the title this season.
This is a year to have a little bit of hope.
For sure.
Or it might be. Who knows? We'll have to tune into the VSPL, come to the game, support the teams to find out.
For sure.
Let's journey back down to the leeward side of the island. We want to talk about a very strong team, a team that had a quiet but a strong season nonetheless, a team that is again synonymous with football in St. Vincent, a community that's synonymous with football in St. Vincent, Leyu FC.
Leyu really impressed me after coming up from the first division a few years ago. Ever since they came into the Premier Division, they have shown a style of attacking football. Sometimes too much.
Yeah, a little bit overconfident.
And leaving their defense a bit exposed. Maybe that is their main weakness. But I've never not been entertained by watching a Leyu game. I always look forward to seeing Leyu play. And again, they are the team I am looking forward to seeing most of the season. The likes of Orion Velox, Travis Fraser. I'm sure that they are gonna be one of the main contenders as well for the title.
Definitely one of the teams that is entertaining to watch for sure. But do you see them moving from just being contenders to really challenging for that title? And we spoke about that rivalry on the leeward side of the island, of course, with the team further to the north who took the title home last season.
Well, that's gonna be hard based on the competition. But I'd say that all it takes is just consistency and a little mentality shift to say that, we can do this. Because as North Leeward mentioned, as the North Leeward coach mentioned when we spoke to him, North Leeward has this aura, I would say, about them, that they are a bit intimidating and their physical nature tends to overpower teams. So if Leyu can just be a bit more consistent throughout the season and win the games that they're supposed to, who knows?
Yeah, they dropped some points from winning positions last season as well, you'd have to say. So we're looking forward to seeing them challenge, definitely. I'll put up a bigger challenge this year, for sure. But like we said, still had a quiet and strong season last year. Looking forward to that rivalry. Coming down to Camdonia Chelsea. Camdonia Chelsea is a team that you'd have to say, last season might have been a surprise in their final placing in the league for a lot of people, placing fourth, But they did that really and truly by having a team that appeared to be together, a team that really appeared to be organized, and a team that took points off of teams that you might have considered to be, at the top against them. What would you say is the ceiling for Chelsea this season? Well, come down here, Chelsea.
Okay. I don't think it would be disrespectful for me to say that Chelsea would be happy to stay another season in the Premier League. So it's not a case where they can't contend for the title, in my opinion. But I don't necessarily think that they are strong enough considering their rivals. And I'd say that they definitely overperformed in the last season. But who knows? Maybe that is not an overperformance and maybe that is their true level. But I'd say that if things, let's say, return to normalcy in the Premier League, Camdonia would be happy to see another season in the Premier League.
To stay in it.
Yeah.
To stay in it for sure. Fourth place, then they go crack the top three this year.
Well, they were disciplined and organized and frustrated the bigger teams in the last season. So maybe I'm not certain who all they would have brought
maybe with a little bit more consistency.
Yeah, maybe with a bit more consistency, a bit more attacking flair, they can shoot up even higher than fourth. So it would be interesting to see what happens with Chelsea this season.
We spoke about expectations, and a lot of teams are, with this new format of the VSPL, a lot of teams would probably raise their expectations and have high expectations, or look to be, perhaps a little bit more excited and look to play a little bit harder, perhaps give a little bit more effort. So who knows what we'll see this season. And speaking of who knows, I mean, Chelsea, as we said, did their performance, but they had a team that finished just level on points with them as well. We're speaking about Jebel FC. Jebel confuses me at times, probably a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes you see them have, a strong 2 or 3 games and then they lose, 1 or 2 games that maybe you expect them, they would beat a team that you expect them to lose to, and then lose to a team that you expect them to beat.
True.
What is he feeling for them? Similar sentiments to Chelsea?
I would say that they have higher expectations just based on the players in this squad. They have some quality, I'd say, a lot of quality spread across the team from midfield, defense, and attack. So I'd say expectations on Jebel would be a bit higher, considering that they won the title a few years ago as well. So Jebel definitely underperformed last season, finishing below the likes of Chelsea and Leyu. So I think they'd be definitely aiming to finish at least in the top 3.
Definitely. And we want to talk about some of the teams that were towards the bottom half, didn't get relegated, still in the Premier Division, but certainly, the level of performance was a little bit below those other teams that we've just discussed. Pastures United, a team that's always competitive, always, in and around, plays good football, I think, a fighting team. What are their chances for staying in the league, or replicating that level of performance that they showed us last season? Let me just get my statistics right in terms of the final point tally from Pastures. Besco Pastures finished on 23 points, so not too far away from Chelsea and Jebel in terms of their performances.
So I'd say that Besco are a consistent Premier team. We don't know how they don't get relegated, but they never challenged for the title, really. They did win the title, but that was some time ago. They haven't won it since. But I'd say that Besco Pastures are like the Fulham or like the Crystal Palace, that kind of team, always in the middle of the pack. We visited their training ground, and they are now coached by a Vincentian legend, Mr. Marlon Tosti James. So
Big up Marlon.
maybe that could see a shift in the direction for Besco Pastures and maybe shoot them high up the table. He did mention that he's trying to change a lot of things in terms of the culture within the team. So it would be interesting to see the effect that he has on that team. However, I expect them to maintain their mid-table
a team that has always, been around and in and around, but we hope to see them making that push towards, really challenging this year. A team that hasn't been around all that long, probably a newer team to a lot of people's. Awesome FC, a team that I think is actually one of the wildcards in the VSPL, but because of last year's performance, obviously the final point tally didn't really flatter them. The performance is not so much, but a team with a lot of youngsters. I mean, a lot of players that we have encountered in and around. Energy. They could surprise teams. What do we say is the expectation for Awesome this year? Staying in or really punching above their weight?
Much like Besco Pastures and Chelsea, I think they would be content with staying in the league. Maybe pushing for the title would be just out of their realistic expectations, in my humble opinion. But you just never know. Last season, they won some games that I didn't expect them to. As you mentioned, they are a wild card, and they have players the likes of Chad Stra, who we know very well.
Definitely.
One of a left foot who could change the game with one swing of a boot. So it's gonna be interesting because they would be a lot of teams banana skin, I'd say. Awesome this season.
Yeah, potential definitely for some upsets coming from that youthful, energetic squad.
For sure.
Well, we're going from a team that is a new name in and around the Vincentian football fraternity to one of the most recognized names in Vincentian football history and one of the winningest team, most successful team certainly in the history of this particular competition. Avenues United, rounding up the pack unexpectedly by a lot of fans and so forth towards the end of the league table last season. But a club with a lot of history, a club with a rich tradition of football, a community attached to it, a lot of expectations.
A lot of expectations, but a lot of turmoil as well ongoing at the club based on rumors in and around the town, I'd say. They were lucky. Let's be honest, they were very lucky to stay in the Premier League last season. They were saved by, I'd say, the top scorer, Gareth Ledgerwood, who has now left the team and has gone back home to Leyu. So that is going to be a problem replacing his goals. I think he was the competition's top scorer last season as well. So that's going to be a problem in terms of how they replace him. Also, the squad is getting a bit old, a bit on the older side. And the younger ones aren't necessarily stepping up to replace them. So Avenues have the best history in SVG's football. In SVG's football, let's be honest. But their current status is not what we would expect no, at all.
From the club.
And they'd be very lucky to stay in the Premier Division this season, if to be honest.
So this isn't the bounce back season then? This isn't the comeback season?
I don't think so, unless they have something in the pack
that we haven't seen
as yet.
Definitely, performances last season left a lot to be desired. We know the club is going through a few issues, but definitely because of the history of it, you always hope to see a team that you have come to expect good football and good performances and winning mentality from return to those former heights. So interesting times to come for sure. And because of the relegation of Sion Hill and SV United from the table, it presented the opportunity for two teams to join this new and altered and improved format of the VSPL. We're talking about System 3 FC, a team again, another team that's very well known in and around Vincentian football, and Beckway United. System 3 back in the top flight, they won the second division, back in the Premier Division. They have a bit of momentum going, certainly have experience, certainly have history. They won the league the last time, I think it's been a while. It's been a minute. Perhaps maybe 8 years or 10 years.
Yeah, about that.
Right. So they would still have to adjust to the pace of the Premier Division, assumedly, but
the quality of the squad alone would make them one of the favorites. Let's be honest. Like Savazino, Salomon, Javin, Sutherland, national players, right? Those guys alone would make the team a contender because they swept through the first division last season. I think they went unbeaten and they defeated Beckway in the final, I think 4-2. So they were obviously above that tier 2 level. This is where they belong, and I think they're gonna be hungry to show what the Premier Division missed out on when they were out of it last season. So I know for sure, as Salomon is very much looking forward to the season. He told me he has a boot that he called most goal boot. Yeah, he bought a shoe.
So he done spray it goal and everything.
He called it most goal.
That the golden boot.
So I know that him and the entire team, as he would be the leader, are very excited coming into the season, and they are definitely one of the contenders for the title.
All right, well, looking out for some clashes, especially the home and away. Added element. And finally wrapping things up, a team that we are very, very happy to see back in the Premier Division. We're talking about Beckway United, bringing up some of that Grenadines pride, some of that Grenadines energy to the mainland. And it's always amazing to see teams from the Grenadines coming up and playing. Not just that, but to be represented. Remember, we are still a multi-island state. So that whole concept of teams, even in the home and away fixtures, that's another exciting prospect to see teams having to make that journey down to Beckway. And, those teams will be coming up. And not just coming up to Kingston, but coming up to go to the different communities. A great opportunity for people to come out, support the teams and get involved in the football. But before we talk about that, we want to talk a bit about the team itself. We know this is a team with a lot of passion, a lot of pride, coming up with a lot of physicality as well, and a lot of support. Where do we see Beckway in terms of in and amongst the 10 as they're newly promoted?
Beckway, like you mentioned about Awesome, I think would be in the category of wildcard. We're not exactly sure what we're gonna get from them week to week, but with players like Mark Brown is who they call Vincy Beckway Nima, Beckway Messi, right? I think he's still in the squad along with our partner, Ethan Snag, right? Shout out to Snag.
Big up yourself.
Beckway is gonna be a wild card because I can't say that I've seen much of them since they've been in the Tier 2 division where most of their games would have been playing in Beckway. But it's definitely great to have them back. And I think under the guidance of former national head coach Dale Murphy, they will be a force to be reckoned with.
Definitely.
Right? So excited to have Beckway back in VSPL.
Vincy Soccer Premier League kicks off this Friday. And we want to take a closer look at some of the fixtures between these teams that we've spoken about. So we gave you the rundown of what happened last season. And we just went through the teams in terms of where they are, what we see some permutations. Friday, January 30th at the Brighton Technical Centre, we've got some matchups. Besco Pastures versus System 3, that's at 7 p.m. And then Jebel FC versus Leyu FC at 9 p.m. So Pastures against newly promoted System 3, a team that's been in the top division consistently, versus a team that's now coming back up, but no stranger to the Premier at all. And then Jebel against Leyu, that's an early one to watch. I mean, Leyu obviously trying to have a strong start. Jebel will still want to remind everybody that, hey, we're not an easy pushover. So some early clashes, they're really interested. On the Saturday, we have a huge clash, in my opinion.
Very huge clash.
Very, very huge clash. Beckway United, newly promoted, versus North Leeward Predators, defending champions. That is 3 p.m. at the Sir Vincent Beach Stadium. Boy, I know that one spicy, boy. We are make that trip.
We'll be there. We will.
St. Vincent Beach Stadium, we're going to make that trip. We're going to be there. We'll be there for sure. Then on this Sunday, new month, February the 1st, Awesome FC. New guys on the block, so to speak, not new to the league, but certainly a new name versus Avenues United, a old name in the thing. 6 p.m. at Brighton, one of those matchups, one of those clashes we spoke about. Awesome being a wild card, Avenues being, having a lot to live up to and a lot to prove, certainly, this season. Both teams with a lot to prove.
I'd say both teams would look at that game as an excellent opportunity to get 3
to start to get some points
against the opposition. Both teams
ironic.
would look at the other.
Yeah, both teams would see it as a win. Points. And later that day, Camdonia Chelsea will take on Hope International at the same venue at 8 p.m. One of the best fixtures of the opening weekend, apart from Beckway and North Leeward. I mean, Hope certainly title contenders. Chelsea not really too far away. And again, nobody wants to start having work to do so. Everybody wants to put their best foot forward. So generally speaking, some of these fixtures are going to be interesting matchups for sure. But in its entirety, we are excited for the first weekend, the first round of the VSPL.
Just before you move on, bro, just on those fixtures and the opening fixtures, I think that they are really interesting because nobody has anywhere to hide. Everybody is going to be starting on 0 points, and it's the time where North Leeward are no longer the champions. They have to fight for it. Just like
from scratch,
just like Beckway, who just come up, has to fight for it. So it's going to be very interesting, especially that same clash that I mentioned between Beckway and Predators on the weekend. So I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm very excited.
All right, so it's early days, but we want to get the narratives going. We want to get things cooking here on GSCP because we're gonna be talking about this all season long. So, Shabba, I'm gonna ask some quick hits, right? Can North Leeward Predators defend the crown?
They definitely can. I don't want to elaborate too much, but they definitely can.
Hope.
Uh,
Hope for hope.
Hope will be strong, but I think North Leeward will just have too much. Just have too much.
Leyu, top three.
Based on the squad quality, the attacking prowess, it's tough. It's tough. I'd say that Leyu are a strong contender as well for the top three, yes.
Okay. System 3 coming up. Somebody going down.
and that's the toughest question you would probably ask. Who would be the two teams going down?
Because I see System 3 staying up.
No, System 3, I think will definitely stay up as well.
So somebody going down.
I don't think that's a hot take. So who gets relegated is
another hot take?
Yeah.
Beck was staying up.
So Beck.
Somebody going down.
So an established force is going. Okay.
I call it early. I talking early. I am just really, you know how I feel about Beckway in terms of their style, their playing style. I mean, we had a classmate. I'm sure many people had, but you know who I'm talking about, of course, Mr. Biden, who really put me on to what the essence of a Beckway is when it comes to football. Just the passion he would play it put me on to them, and I just like their vibes, and of course the experience and quality in System 3. So
for sure,
look out, somebody in the A2 who stay up. Anyhow, let me move on. If Predators start fast, it's light out. Nobody catching them.
I agree based on the momentum that they finished the season with. However, the coach mentioned that they are not necessarily prepared to start and hit the ground running. So maybe that might be the opening the other teams need against Predators. But if they do start fast, I think it will be a wrap.
Avenues cannot afford to start slow.
They definitely can't. They definitely cannot afford a start like they did last season, where I think they lost 4 or 5 of their opening 6 games or so, and then recover to safety. They definitely cannot afford that slow start, especially as I mentioned, they lost their top scorer, Mr. Leisurewood, who went back to Leyu. So they can't afford a slow start at all.
Definitely. And those are some quick hits that we ran through for the upcoming VSPL. Remember, it is starting this Friday, January 30th. Don't miss this upcoming new format that we have for my football fans, my football lovers. Well, I should be saying my soccer fans.
And
my soccer lovers.
Soccer lovers.
I don't know. I can't keep poking a little bit of fun at the Football Federation having the Vincy Soccer Premier League. But tomato, and we are going to be here. We're going to be talking about the games. We're going to be reacting to some of the results. I'm sure we're going to be live. We're going to be present at some of the games, probably not live there. But, we're going to be there. We're going to be involved as we always have and will continue to do, just in this new format. Here at GSCP, we want to turn passion into purpose. And we know people are really passionate about the local football. And this is one of the ways that we are contributing to pushing the development of the sport and sports in Simmons and Grenadines in general further and forward. Right? That's what we are about. Shabba, any quick hits on the VSPL before we wrap up?
Okay, so my early prediction is that we've mentioned a few times on the show how Predators look ready to retain that title. Right, so I'm gonna make an early prediction here and say that Predators are going to retain the league title. It's been a while since that has been done. I don't think a team has retained the league title since Avenues did so back in their glory day. But I'd say that they have the makings of repeat champions. But that's not to say the likes of Hope, System 3, who just came up, Leyu, I think they would be the closest contenders to the Predators. And hopefully we have an exciting title race, right, for top scorer I'm gonna go with Mr.
Solomon's prediction.
Mr. Golden Boot. I'm gonna hold you to that, bro. It's on film.
It's on camera, man.
On film, and you are my top scorer for this season. Don't let me down.
Don't let down my brother.
Yes.
You understand?
In terms of relegation, it's very hard. It's very, very hard to say who would be relegated.
I ain't calling no name. But again, in terms of relegation, the two teams who have just been promoted have no intention of going back to the first division.
Yeah.
And I don't think it looks like they are going back to the first division. So by my brilliant mathematical statistical analysis,
Two existing teams will have to go.
existing teams are going to have to make room. And that will make for a very exciting, as you said, and very competitive VSPL 2026. That is all for Vincy Soccer Premier League season preview. The fixtures set. We're ready. The teams getting themselves ready. And it's now over
To the players.
to the players, to the federation, and to the fans, most importantly, to come out and support it, right? Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. This has been another episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective, where we turn passion into purpose. We bring you the best teams, best sports, best takes, best games, right here in one place. One GSCP, Global.
Global. RIP Gas.